special seminar today. This is special first because it's the last one for the semester, and secondly because it is going to feature new kind of speakers. In the past, whenever we had seminar, we would have people come from academia or industry or government and give a presentation on a given topic. This time, we have 4 outstanding students who are going to talk about their experience. These are all VICEROY scholars to talk about their experience in the internship programs, MAVEN and ENVOY, and all 4 of them have participated in one or both of these internships. We've asked them, and they have agreed to give their presentations. So the 50 minutes we have today will be used to have 4 presentations, and we will have some time, around 10 minutes or so towards the end, to answer questions. But as they go, they would try to make it as helpful as possible and anticipate your questions and answer them. So the students we have presenting are Adam Caudle, who is a computer science senior, and has been a MAVEN, an ENVOY, and also something called S. The other student we have is Kathleen Boyd. She is a senior also in computer science, and she has done both MAVEN and ENVOY. Her last ENVOY was in 2025. The third student, Colin Bale, he's a cybersecurity major, and he is someone who's done MAVEN last year. And we have William Frela, computer science senior, also who has done both MAVEN and ENVOY. So I'm very excited and looking forward to your presentations. Each one of you can share your screens and present. If problems arise, then James will be standing by to do it. And we will begin with William because he has a class to rush to. He will be the first speaker, and James will share his screen and get us started. Thank you very much for taking the time to present today. I really appreciate it. William, you can go ahead and get started.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Will. I'll be talking about my summer at NIWC Pacific, the Naval Information Warfare Center, and this was in San Diego, and this was Envoy, so this is my second year. Do next slide. NIWC Pacific is located on the Point Loma Naval Base, so it's like right on that tip in San Diego by the water. It's a research center of about 5,000 employees with a bunch of researchers and scientists, and there's a wide range of disciplines, and it's a really collaborative culture. So usually you're put into small teams and you work with a lot of different disciplines on one project. But the main focuses include cybersecurity, communications, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, and command and control. And to get on base, you need to have some sort of security clearance, and they have a business casual work attire. So at NIWC last year, there were around 20 Viceroy interns and 6 WSU interns. And this included both MAVEN and Envoy. So if you're doing first year or second year, you could end up at NIWC. But there's also many different summer intern programs at NIWC. So one of the bigger ones was called NREAP. So if you don't get in any Viceroy internship, you could also apply there, and that could give you another internship opportunity for the CySER requirement. And there's a bunch of other ones too, but I don't really know them off the top of my head. NIWC also had, for interns, they had weekly trainings, they had weekly events and talks around the base. So these are all optional, and you had a lot of freedom to like go around and talk to new people or like learn about something that you're interested in, and you kind of make use of your own time. And also at NIWC, they have a program called the New Professionals Program. It's for college graduates. It's a 2-year program where you kind of go around different teams and get to know like different teams to see where you're best fit. And it's a good opportunity for those looking for federal employment. So for my project, I worked on, my mentor called it ShapeNet. What it was is a self-healing network, and this was part of the cyber science and technology department. And so basically there's 3 parts to this project. There was making a physical network, and that was really basic with a router and some Raspberry Pis connected to it. And we also had 2 different models, machine learning models. So the idea was we had this network that would send network traffic to a machine learning model that would classify it, and it would either classify as benign or malicious. And if it is malicious, it would classify the attack type as well. And then it would send all that information to another machine learning model. And this is a generative adversarial network. And basically what this model was doing was it would get the input and it would generate configuration files for our network and modify it so that whatever attack that is going on in the network would be prevented, hence the self-healing network. And some of the tools we used were some Python machine learning libraries. We used a software-defined networking tool called Mininet. We used Wireshark for handling the network traffic. And then I also needed to make a demo of the whole thing. So I used a little bit of web dev with Flask. And basically this project was supposed to be sort of like a proof of concepts. You know, since we're interns, we're not expected to make some crazy robust system, right? But this was just used so that my mentor could propose his project and see where it goes. And then I was also expected to do a midpoint and final presentation on this project. So besides like the actual work part, the accommodations for the VICEROY internship, we stayed at San Diego State University apartments for most of the time. And those were actually pretty nice. And then we stayed at a hotel for the last week. And we were expected to commute to work, and it was about a 20 to 30-minute drive. A lot of interns brought cars, so I was able to carpool. I didn't have a car, but it was all fine. And then they also provided a San Diego State meal card, which you could use for like nearby food options. $30 a day wasn't quite enough for one day because it's really expensive over there, but it was definitely very helpful. And there's also a train on the campus, which is convenient if you want to do other stuff, like, for example, go to a baseball game or something. It's super easy to go by the train. Some of my favorite memories included the beach days. The weather was super good every day. It was kind of crazy. And zoo trip was really fun, and I ate a lot of Mexican food every day. There was a food truck. I would just get a burrito every day for lunch. Some advice. So I know anyone that's interested in internships probably already applied, but just some general advice to highlight your interest in your resume, because they look at your projects and what you've worked with, and they kind of decide what you work on based off of that. So you could be assigned to a project based on, you know, your experiences. So you want to make sure you do stuff that you want to do. And for the interview questions, so I don't know if the interviews have already happened, but they asked really common interview questions. And if you want more specifics, you could ask me later and I could probably tell you them because I think they reuse them. So make sure to prepare stories for that. During the internship, I think it's important to network and meet new people and to advocate for yourself. So an example of that was my first project I was assigned to was something that I was not super interested in. It was like really physics heavy. It didn't really have anything to do with cybersecurity, but I was able to talk to some people and they were able to connect me to my new mentor. And then I was able to get a project that I wanted to work on. And also explore other projects to see what's out there, talk to the other interns, go to the events. They have a lot of events to like learn new things, talk to people. And then finally, do activities with interns outside of work because, you know, there's people from all across the country. You get to meet a lot of really interesting people. And yeah, and then last, I have my LinkedIn if you guys want to ask more questions later, but you can also ask questions now.
Awesome, that's wonderful. So I would probably wait till the very end for asking questions, but if you have one quick question because Will has to go to class, I would allow. Somebody's got a quick question. Otherwise, I would rather finish all presentations and we'll at least dedicate some time at the end. So grab his info, and if you can reach out to him. So please put your questions in the chat so we can address them at the end. Next, I'm going to ask Kathleen, if you are ready, go ahead, share your screen. And Kathleen is also somebody who has done both MAVEN and ENVOY, just like Will, and she will tell us about it and use maybe less than 10 minutes. That would be wonderful, but max 10 minutes would be great if you're ready. Otherwise, I can ask for whoever is ready next. Are you
I'm
there?
ready. I'm just setting up the share screen.
Wonderful. Okay, go ahead and share the screen. Thank you so much.
Is it popping up okay?
Yes, it's looking great.
So hi, I'm Caitlin, and I'm here to talk about my experience at the MAVEN VICEROY internship back in, I believe it was 2024. So here's a little bit about me. I did the VICEROY MAVEN internship in 2024, the VICEROY ENVOY internship in 2025, and I've been in CySER since 2023 when I transferred to WSU from Virginia Tech. I'm now currently a junior software engineer with Patterson Aerospace Systems, which I actually did get as an offer from my MAVEN internship initially, actually. So it's kind of a unique story. I'm currently a computer science senior at Washington State University. So I don't know if you guys have already interviewed for MAVEN, but I'm going to give like kind of a quick overview of what the interview was like for me. So basically, it was a Zoom interview with like 2 to 5 interviewers. That was about 30 minutes. They asked pretty standard questions like, tell me about yourself. What are your strengths/weaknesses? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Describe a time when you had to solve a problem in a team setting. So make sure you have like one in mind that isn't complaining about your teammates. And also, do you have any questions about the internship itself? Which you should always have questions for them, especially since they don't give you a lot of information going in, even though I'm giving you a bunch of information, but ask anyway. I actually had a unique experience. I had 2 separate interviews. So I had the first interview just for the VICEROY MAVEN program, and my mentor actually decided to do a secondary interview process after I was assigned. So I ended up doing a second interview, which may happen to you guys if you get a mentor who wants to do that. It kind of just depends. So travel and accommodations, basically they have you fly into Syracuse Airport. Usually we fly out of SeaTac because we're at WSU. Then you ride share and taxi to MVCC, which is the Mohawk Valley Community College in Utica, which is where they have us stay. And then they do a school bus, usually chartered to go to and from work, though I did hear last year there was more of a carpool situation. So it kind of just depends. You just got to figure it out when you get there. For housing, it's a 2-person dorm, so you do get a roommate. There's communal laundry and like a communal kitchen, so you can like heat stuff up and like put stuff in the fridge. Food is provided by MVCC dining, and there is AC in the common areas, but not necessarily in your room. So just be prepared for it to be really hot in upstate New York is kind of my best advice, because we were in the middle of a record-breaking heat wave when I was there. You can kind of see on this map the distances between Griffith Institute is where you will work, Mohawk Valley Community College is where you're staying, and Syracuse is where you fly in. So we'll talk about a regular work day. So at MAVEN, you get like 3 weeks of regular work day because it's a really short internship, but mainly it focuses on like practical skill lessons. We did a lot of like Linux fundamentals, cybersecurity skills, and electromagnetic spectrum activities. Then you have like a lot of allocated time for your research projects. So like I said, you were assigned a research mentor. I was assigned to Patterson Aerospace Systems, and you essentially just spend like a couple hours a week working with your mentor on your projects and kind of like developing whatever they've asked of you. My project was to basically make a object detection algorithm to detect space debris in low Earth orbit around satellites to deal with space congestion in low Earth orbit. Then you write an IEEE paper based on that, and you also get the opportunity to write a cyber vulnerability assessment, which is really unique for this internship because it's the standard for the Air Force. So you get kind of experience with like what government format you would need to go work for the government later if you were going to do like cyber vulnerability analysis. There are also guest lectures from like one of them was like a professor from Virginia Tech, actually, that I had seen before, and a bunch of other people who work in industry to kind of give you an idea of what you might want to do. And there's also professional development events where we got to meet. Griffiths Institute has like this consortium of like kind of like startup companies and regular companies that work in the area. So you can meet all of the upstate New York companies. You can see in that picture there, funny story, my mentor had this Lego set. And so one of our tasks for the day was to build this R2-D2. So that's why I included it as the picture. There are a couple field trips. Like I said, you only get 3 weeks of regular work before you get kind of interrupted for a bunch of events. So the field trip we went on was to the United States Military Academy, West Point. On the way there, we stopped at a lot of places. So we stopped at the USS Slater on the way there. You can see me sitting at a gun on the USS Slater on the right. Then we went to Saratoga Springs on the way back. You can see a picture of us actually at West Point. It's a really interesting tour. They take you all the way around campus and you kind of see like the everyday life of a cadet there. And it's really interesting. If you get chosen as one of the like distinguished graduates, I didn't get chosen as that, but you go to the Pentagon and you get to do like a tour around there and go meet with Mr. Maciag and do that whole thing. Weekend activities, which I know is what you're really stoked for because we're in Washington and we don't get to go to New York often. About 2 hours away is Niagara Falls. I went on a trip there. You can see on the bottom left, that's Toronto in the distance. Some people went to New York City, which is about 4 hours away. You can see just a picture of New York on the right. The Utica Zoo is also just in town. I think it's like a 10-minute drive or something. There's also fishing, hiking, and swimming. We actually did a trip to some lake for 4th of July that had a lot of swimming and activities at it. That was really fun. So you're not just stuck doing work the whole time. So presentations and graduation, you kind of have this big presentation at the end to show off your research. It's in front of like, I would say like 30-ish people. It's not too terribly big, about the size of our meeting right now. So it's a 5-minute group presentation with your research group. I was in a research group of 2, but they can vary from like 2 to 5 depending on your project and the needs of the project. Then you have graduation, which is an award ceremony. They give out awards for the best Blue Book paper, the best IEEE paper, and they also do a vote on the distinguished graduates, which is just a peer vote. So I ended up getting the best Blue Book paper and the best IEEE paper for both of my groups. You can see a picture of all of us WSU students that were there on the right, which is actually like I didn't know anyone at WSU because I transferred the year that I went to MAVEN. I had transferred to WSU from Virginia Tech, so I didn't really know anyone. So actually, you can see all of my friends at WSU in this picture, and I made them all at MAVEN. So beyond MAVEN, I did the Viceroy Envoy internship at Keyport at the Naval Undersea Warfare Center. Basically, they had us working on cybersecurity projects on base, and we were also working with one of the local community colleges on a honeypot decoy. You'll hear more about it from Adam Cottle later, because he is going to go over that whole thing, and he was one of my teammates there. There's also different cybersecurity competitions you can do. I participated in the 2024 Spectral Cloak. I didn't participate in Shield Bearer, but that also went on like last week, and there's another one coming up called Sentinel's Watch in February. So some general advice for the interview: double check the time zone, because funnily enough, I messed up the time zone and actually missed my first interview. And if that happens, make sure you communicate very well. They were really understanding about it, but please do not miss your interview because you did the time zone conversion backwards. Remember, it's at Eastern time. Just general, dress nice. What I did before my interview was I Googled common interview questions and came up with the answers beforehand, so I was pre-prepared because they use pretty standard ones. There's no like really random one that you're gonna get hit with that hasn't been asked before. Recommended skills: I would brush up on your Linux fundamentals. I didn't know any Linux fundamentals when I went, So it was really interesting to kind of catch up in the first like 3 days of MAVEN. And also technical writing basics. They provide you with the writing guides, so you're going to have to relearn it anyway. But if you know at least basics of technical writing, that'll help you a lot. And then packing, business casual is the dress code for work. Emphasis on the casual, like jeans are fine as long as they're not ripped and they're like kind of nice jeans. Bring one nice outfit for graduation and presentations, and walking shoes that go with your business casual outfits, because you will be walking back and forth between Griffiths Institute and AFRL, which is like, I want to say it's like a block away, maybe less, but it's a lot of walking if you're not used to it. And also bring your important documents. You can get packages delivered to MVCC if you don't want to try to fit all of your bedding into like suitcases to bring with you. Vacuum seal bags also come in clutch for that. So thank you for listening. Here is my contact info if you have any more questions, and some image credits, because I did take some of these images from the Viceroy LinkedIn and Asifa's LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thank you so very much, Caitlin. That's really, really wonderful. I'm sure people will get a lot out of it. The slides would be posted. They look awesome. So in the interest of time, I'm going to move. If you stick around, if they have questions at the end, they would ask you. But thank you very much. Since you brought up Adam, and if Adam, you're ready, maybe you can follow up and talk about whatever you're ready for, keeping in mind the time we have left, and we will round off with Colleen Bell's presentation. So Adam, are you there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
Let me share my screen.
And Caitlin should stop sharing. Yes. Let me see your email. Right there now we have got your slide.
Let's see.
It's not yet in. Yes, now we have everything.
Alrighty.
Perfect.
Good.
Go ahead.
All good to go?
You're good to go. Thanks.
All right, perfect. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Adam Cottle. I'm going to be presenting on some of my experiences today. I'll try not to retread too much on some of the things that the other scholars have gone over, but I do have some unique perspectives and things I'd like to talk about. So first, like the other interns, I started out with the MAVEN internship. We've already kind of talked about it. It's in Rome, New York. It is an 8-week-long internship. And sort of, as previously mentioned, it's structured in a very educational manner, right? You're going to gain work experience, but you're also going to be learning a lot. When I was there, we did research. We did cyber operations practice. There was a big capstone we did at the end called Conquer Dawn, which was meant to sort of simulate an actual network intrusion event that we worked with. And there were lectures. We got to learn about the Linux fundamentals. We got to learn about electromagnetic spectrum fundamentals. A lot of cool stuff. I, like so many of the other interns, met a lot of my friends at WSU at this internship. We can see that in the picture on the right here. This was my spectral cloak team, and we were all Mavens together. It was a really cool thing. Focusing a little bit more on what I did when I was there. The program has changed a little bit because I went 3 years ago, but a lot of the DNA is still the same. We had our research. My research was on hyperdimensional computing for machine learning, which is just a fancy way of saying we were doing machine learning with large dimension vectors. We used that to kind of work on efficient implementations of machine learning for compact systems. So we had some very compute limited Raspberry Pi Picos that we were working on, basically turning them into autonomous vehicles for driving around, that sort of thing. Really cool stuff. We also got to work on a large, they called it a blue book, which is essentially a vulnerability assessment. And this was a simulated assessment exercise on a real satellite system that we got to create this analysis on. It's a really good thing for improving your technical writing, as well as something you can talk about for your soft skills if you're ever, when you're interviewing for an internship or maybe even a job. And then the capstone I mentioned, Conquer Dawn, we completed at the end, and it was a very cool experience. Something very unique to Viceroy, in my opinion, is the exercises and how hands-on they are with real networks that are all built and maintained by the people at Griffiths. Moving on, sort of the unique thing I can bring to this table is the ACE program. So just a little bit about that. It's very geared for, if there's any ROTC cadets in the audience, very geared for you all. It is a pretty intense 10-week cyber training program meant to forge cyber leaders of tomorrow. So a lot of the focus is not only on this technical excellence in the cyber realm, but also and how you would actually apply that in a real job, whether that's a federal leadership position or a military leadership position. We learned a lot. One of the highlights is the Gettysburg field trip. We get to participate in a staff ride and sort of learn about the history and gain insights from real world military leadership. A picture of all the ACE interns for that is on the right. Along with a lot of that cyber training, we also do some similar things to what you might experience in MAVEN or even ENVOY. We had weekly operations practice. So the capstone you do for MAVEN is sort of a weekly occurrence at ACE. It definitely puts you through your paces and requires a lot of prep. We also did a weekly 8-mile run, which sounds tough, but I will say they give you the training materials beforehand, how to actually train your body for it. And it's a tradition that's been passed down since the program started way back in the late 90s. So really cool stuff. We also had weekly lectures and weekly challenge problems meant to improve our knowledge on various different cybersecurity topics. We had lectures and challenge problems on reverse engineering, on red teaming, things of that sort, forensics, right? A lot of these big picture topics will be covered at a very quick pace, but you have an ample time to deal with it, right? The general expectation, if you were to look into this program, which I would highly recommend, it's worth it, is about 80 hours a week. So it's meant to be intense along with the write-ups, but ultimately the most exciting part is the 56-hour capstone we do at the end. So it's all intern-led, intern-managed, right? We have to create our own, well, we have our own sort of squadron, but we create our own plan, our own execution, and our own schedule for this capstone to actually compete against the other interns. We were divided into 2 teams when I went, and it was a really cool experience. Again, I would highly recommend anyone apply for it. And then on to the experience, my experience with Envoy. Caitlin talked a little bit about it. I'll jump straight into the projects and research we did. So we were in Keyport. We were working for NAVC. One of our main projects was a computer vision focused reverse engineering tool, essentially grabbing onto PCB traces and drawing them automatically into a Gerber file for NAVC engineers to then use in their reverse engineering attempts, right? It's really meant to tackle problems focused on obsolete technology and stuff where the schematics aren't available and we have to build our own, that sort of thing. Really cool project. And we also worked on a data characterization engine. This was really cool. We did this not with the Navy, but with Western Washington. They had a honeypot running for about 4 years, I think, gathering data. And as interns, this was really cool. We got to work with a team to actually build an engine to go through and characterize all this data and basically gather insights and analytics from it. It was really cool, definitely cross-disciplinary. It allowed me to learn a lot more about the data science side of computer science and not just the strict, like, what's super big right now, like machine learning and AI. We really got to spread our wings and kind of learn some different things. Leading on to the advice, again, kind of repeating what a lot of the other interns have talked about. My take is just you should be working hard before and at the internship. So before the internship, you're working hard in your classes, having good grades to prove that you are capable of handling academics, doing extracurriculars to help improve your resume. Participating in clubs is a great way to do that. And basically showing you have that buy-in and you have extra knowledge and not just from a textbook. Network with people, make friends, take every learning opportunity you can get, and then apply all of that when you do get an internship. I would say it stays the exact same. This slide, it's sort of a mirror intentionally, is once you get there, you just, keep your foot on the gas, you keep working hard, you network, you take advantage of opportunities. And I would say that's kind of the best way to get a return offer if that's what you're interested in. it's kind of a given, right? But a lot of people will maybe sort of, I don't want to say slack off, take it a little bit easy when they get to the internship. That's not what you want to be doing. You want to be really enjoying it, getting into it, and putting your all into it. And that's kind of about all I have. I'll answer questions at the end if anyone has any, especially about the ACE program. I'd love to talk about that. And with that, I'll hand it back over to you, Professor Aswell.
Thank you so very much, Adam. That was wonderful. In case you didn't pick it up, Adam is a MAVEN 2023 and S 2024 and ENVOY 2025 experience, a lot of them. And S is probably the only one I know with the Viceroy Scholar program from WC that he's done. So if you have questions, save them for the end. And I'm going to turn it over. Thank you very much, Adam. That was awesome. Colin is going to, he's a MAVEN 2025 and cybersecurity junior. I think I have seen you around. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Sure. If you can share your screen.
How do you? There we go. Okay. That. And
There we go.
okay, good.
All right. The floor is yours, Colin. Thank you so much. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Hi, my name's Colin. I just did MAVEN this last summer at the Rome host site, and I'm going to go over some of that host site info, our intern cohort, kind of contracting with some of the companies that they have, some of the projects you'll be working on, things outside of work, kind of some of the things you've heard from other people already, and then what you should kind of expect with the most recent information, I guess that makes sense. So, like I said, I interned at the Air Force Research Laboratory in Rome, New York, and that is over here. This is pulled straight from the website. It's AFRL. You'll hear that all the time. It hosts both MAVEN and ENVOY, and we had both from WSU this year. And yeah, some of the cohort info. We had a total of 55 interns in the cohort. WSU represented about 12% of the interns, and yet still we were the second highest representation. Kind of goes to show how many different universities and just general groups of people there are within this program. I think the first was Mississippi State, but you know, pretty equal on programs. There was people from across the United States and various majors and skill levels. So if you're feeling kind of nervous, oh, I might not be prepared for this, it's okay. There were people that were overly prepared, there were people that were underly prepared, and it felt like everybody was kind of capable of doing everything along the way as they needed to, as was introduced to them. Okay, so DoD contracting. I contracted with a company called Assured Information Security. It is right down the road from AFRL. I'm on the right side of the screen. There's a picture of outside the building, and then my office, which we were fortunate to get. We had a team of 2. You can see my teammate in there, and him and I were working on a project that I'll cover later. It was focused around network steganography and essentially hiding data within TCP packets, transferring it over without even like raising any flags on Wireshark and firewalls. So this is where most of my time in the latter 6 weeks was spent when we had time outside of like, you know, field trips and events going on and all the things. This is where a lot of my on-the-job experience came from, and I felt like the actual contracting side of things was probably some of the most valuable of the whole experience. Okay, so generally, before I get into my intern project, there were a few different ones this is just kind of what I was able to remember off the top of the head. But Drone City was a company that was there. They focused on drone swarms and kind of preventing cyber attacks on drone swarms to make sure that, you know, the military uses drones, so we don't want people capturing them and using them for malicious purposes. My company Assured InfoSec with the network steganography project I'll cover in a second. You had IoT Labs, which is Internet of Things. You'll hear a lot about that. There's several people they bring in to speak to you about it and to learn about it, and you'll get a very like hands-on approach with IoT. There's software assurance labs in AFRL that cover just software assurance and making sure that things are going the way they need to go and how to kind of prove that. Quantum computing was a very big one recently. There was a few different companies that did it. There was a big project that was happening though with quantum optimization of AI models. So basically getting like previous models upgraded to adjust to quantum computing, which I found pretty cool. I was friends with a few people in that project, and they seemed to be really enjoying what they were working on. And then aerospace, which seems to be what Caitlin was working on and what she's currently working for with Patterson. And that's just software engineering for cleaning up orbital debris, which is kind of fun because I didn't know that she worked on that. And I heard all about that, only to find out that she was the one that kind of worked on it. So that's fun for me today. Moving on to AIS's intern project. Like I said, it was using network steganography for covert communications, aptly titled Covert Comms. It was basically just creating a proof of concept to be used by the senior engineers as part of a contract they had upcoming. And it was actually going to be developed as a product, which is kind of exciting. So the end goal for the project was just developing a Python system for effectively encrypting messages and placing those in network packets or hiding them in network packets and then recovering them remotely. So you spin up a server, looks nothing like anything other than a website, and you click a few things, do like access a page, you know, with the right keys, and you have the information you're looking for. So kind of brief overview. I don't know how much I could talk about because my company was like, this needs to be locked down. But yeah, that's kind of the general high concept, high level. Moving on to kind of outside of work, because this is a large part of kind of what you'll be doing, and you know, you get weekends and stuff and make friends. So we did intern field trips with Griffiths and with Viceroy to, you know, the beach, West Point, the USS Slater, like Caitlin talked about, and then kind of several museums around Albany, which was fun. Me and some friends took some weekend trips. It was different groups of people, but both very fun. One to New York City, which you can see on the right. I just picked a cool photo that I took. And Niagara on the left, also a very cool photo. I think it's one of my favorites from the entire experience. Both trips are very fun. Both are nearby. Pretty inexpensive in the grand scheme of things, and just nice to get away and go see some new things. General exploration of the area. Feel free to just go walking while you're there. For those of you that are going to Rome, it's a pretty chill area to just go walk in and explore. And the weather's very nice, comparable to Washington, a little muggier, but pretty nice. There were also interns that went hiking nearby, so they brought cars and they just carpooled over and then took photos at the top of a mountain and would show those in our next like group session at work, which was really fun, and we kind of go over all the weekend plans that everyone had, and yeah, very fun. So for those of you that are doing Maven, just on overall, I would suggest brushing up on Linux commands, like everyone has told you before. They will send you suggested exercises to do. Do them. I did not, and similar to Caitlin, I spent the first 3 days or 4 days just really getting like used to it and just sitting down on the computer and getting everything very up to date, up to speed. Also, do some research on the area you're going, whether it be like San Diego or Rome or wherever. Look for food spots. If you like hiking, nearby hiking, just nearby travel destinations, and anything that will keep you busy and engaged with the whole program. Get an idea of the climate. That was a big one. Some people definitely did not pack for the like very high temps while we were there, and it showed, and they had to get pretty quickly adjusted. So definitely look into the area and kind of all the elements, and then mentally prepare yourself for the distance as well. This is something I struggled with because, you know, you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go a distance away and it's gonna be awesome, and then you get there and you're like, ooh, I know nobody, which is, it's something, but you quickly make friends. It's just prepare yourself mentally for that like introductory period of making friends and really engaging with the program as it's meant to be. And I think you'll succeed once you're there. When at your host site, leave your dorm room. That's a huge one. You cannot make friends unless you leave your room. And there were several people that were really just not clicking with the program because they weren't able to get out and like hang out with people and engage. Go to movies or whatever. We went and saw Fantastic Four and talk nerd stuff about comics, and I made a ton of friends that way. So make friends with as many of the interns as possible, and maybe find a core group of friends you can hang out with. The photo on the right is just us, like first week. And if Shane's here, Shane's in that photo too. We just went out and went walking, and it was kind of fun. Also, be ready and fully committed to working. Success for many of our groups was found in consistency and preparedness. And there were some people that were just kind of in it to be interns and less so to like actually engage and work and really put their best foot forward. And I think if you're trying to get as much out of the project or as out of your projects and out of the whole intern experience as you can, definitely just treat it like you're working because that's what you're doing, you know. Aim for that high level. And then don't discount your own ability, just be prepared to learn. And because there are other people that will probably know a little bit more than you will in certain areas, and in certain areas they might know a little less. Just learn from everybody. There's a huge cohort of people and there's a lot of information, so just be prepared to take all that in and kind of just share the wealth. And then my personal recommendation, just because it was really fun to go kind of see some things, set aside some funds to travel and travel with a small group of just kind of friends and people that you think you could just go out and hang out with, because that was very fun on the weekends. While on the job, like I said earlier, commit yourself to the work given to you. That's a huge one. I saw a lot of like happy comments from project heads with their interns when the interns were like really focused and just committed to the work. Always remember you're there to learn and gain experience. That comes with everything I've already said. Make use of the experience surrounding you, whether it be other interns, the adults that will be talking. I say adults, we're all adults. The professionals that will be talking to you, AFRL folks that come in and speak to you, and yeah, just make use of all that experience and go speak to those people. I highly recommend reading documentation and doing the work yourself because you know we're all there for computer science, cybersecurity related things. Like I GPT is really easy to use. Trust me, we all have, but it's very good to just do the work yourself while you're there and commit yourself to it because you're there to learn. And then understanding the full scope of the problem and creating a plan before all else. This was huge for me. Me and my partner realized after the fact that we might not have fleshed out our project as well as we thought we had, and we had to go back and really just sit down and rework everything. And it took a day or two to really just get everything fleshed out as it was supposed to be from the get-go. So I highly recommend doing that. Other than that, that's kind of all the advice I have for preparing and on the job. And yeah, if anyone has any questions, I think that period will be opening now. So yeah.
Wonderful, Colin. That was great. Thank you so very much. I am very happy about the way you kind of talked off of each other in a way, and then some information that didn't come up in one came up in another one. So it was wonderful, and the slides will be posted. But if you have questions, we've got about 5 minutes. You can either put them in the chat or unmute yourselves and go ahead and ask to any one of our 4 great speakers.
Hello, can you hear me?
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I actually had a question for Adam about his ACE position.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just wondering, like, what kind of the day-to-day experience is there? Like, what do you do when you're not doing whatever they have you on, or like, what is there to do in the area, something like that?
Yeah. The days were like pretty full when you were at ACE. I kind of mentioned how much you end up doing. But there was still time to socialize with the other interns, right? So the workday started pretty standard 8 to 5 sort of thing with a lunch hour. Generally, you would go and you would either go spend the first half of your day in like lecture or on research, and you would spend the second half of the workday on sort of the inverse components. So if you were doing lecture, you would go to research. Sometimes you'd go from research to lecture. Other times there were like operations planning that you had to do with the actual ACE staff, right? With your sort of nation leader in the role you were working with. And generally, with the time requirement came, you'd get off work, you would have about hour and a half to yourself, right? Most interns went to the gym for a little bit, went and grabbed dinner, and then you would meet back up to do your operations prep in the evening. And that kind of varied. Could go till like 9, it could go till 11. But if you were kind of ahead on that, a lot of the times what would happen is a bunch of the interns would go and grab dinner or something, or you would go and have like a morale event. Making the most of the time you had, even though you're busy, and honestly, sort of the the shared suffering that you had with like the crazy schedule with the other interns honestly made us friends with each other very quickly. And I would say that's my favorite part. I'm still in contact with the people that I had never known before who are on the other side of the country right now because of that internship. So it was pretty cool. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you.
I was going to say,
just very quickly to add, so the ACE internship, physically, the place where it happens is where all the MAVEN interns would also be there. So you do get a larger pool of interns to interact with in general. Maybe that's one thing I wanted to add. Other questions for any of the speakers? Will is off to class, but we've got 3 of the speakers here. Your slides are awesome, if I should compliment. They are very useful, and so we'll have them on the CySER website. Anybody's got questions? I am learning that we should be doing something like this in the spring also with other set. I enjoyed it very much. Somebody was going to ask.
Oh, hi. I'm just wondering, out of the 3 internships that you did, ACE, the MAVEN, and the one in Keyport, do you have a favorite?
Yeah, it's ACE.
Okay.
I think that might have been obvious from sort of my bias, but it really does. Like they were all awesome, and I made great friends at every single one. I'm sure Colin and Kaylin will attest to that. But I think the reason I liked it was probably because of the people and and I'm also a kind of a sucker for the exercises, and we did those every single week. So I would say that's why I liked it a lot. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
So they build
Thanks.
up on each other, MAVEN and ENVOY. MAVEN is the first one, and ENVOY is what you do next. Colin will probably do his next time around. He did MAVEN, and Caitlin and Adam did both of them. And so in some sense, there is more like your second year of university and third year of university. They build off of each other, and kind of becomes difficult to head-to-head compare them and say this is an effort. They offer different things. That's one thing to keep around in mind. And then S is a different thing. It's not a VICEROY program, I'm not sure if it is exclusively for ROTC people. Adam, can you comment on that? It's open for everybody, right?
Yeah, it's open for everyone. I mean, when I was there, I mentioned it was kind of aimed at ROTC cadets, but I think we were split about 50-50. About 50% of us were cadets, and the other were just regular students. A lot of them are kind of shooting for sort of federal cybersecurity jobs. Some of them are shooting for like 3-letter ones, some of them for sort of more basic contractor roles. But yeah, it's open for anyone, and I would recommend anyone like who thinks it sounds interesting throw their hat in the ring. It's pretty unique in that respect.
Someone in the chat also asked, is there a specific internship that any of us recommend to start with? If you really like running, do ACE. If you want something very user-friendly, start with MAVEN, because you can't do ENVOY without having done MAVEN first. So I would recommend MAVEN as your entry level, because ACE is kind of like military boot camp for cybersecurity and engineering.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you are prepared for full military boot camp plus 8-mile runs, I would go more for MAVEN.
Yeah, as Mavens, we used to sit there and like watch them go on their runs. It was very fun to do. But those guys were always together and always doing something. So yeah, I second that.
Yeah, and I would say I did like starting with MAVEN first. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, he did have the opportunity to have all 3 of these things done under his belt now, but I think more normal people would go MAVEN ENVOY, which is what the VICEROY Scholar owns as the 2 flagship internships, I think. And so I second everything you said, Caitlin and Colin, about recommending MAVEN to start off with, and then ENVOY. Is there a requirement? You'll have to have the first one done first. I want to remind, before you head off, or some of you have already left, but to fill out the Qualtrics survey, even if you have got a little bit of time to, and you need to come back to it, but start it so that you can get that one done. But I think we'll have to stop here. I know there are some who would go immediately to class after this. So thank you very much. This was really, really great. and I have gotten my lesson now. We will have to do something similar and get other Viceroy scholars come up in the spring as well. So you did a fantastic job. Thank you very much. And everyone have a great rest of your day. This is the last seminar we have for a fall semester, and we'll see you in spring.